So Erin, if you're okay, we'll wait a couple of
Yeah,
minutes and then get
of course.
started.
Yeah, let's just wait for the others to get in. Welcome, everyone. If you can let us know where you're tuning in from, so that we'll know if it's going to be good morning, good night, or good afternoon. Well, I think Teresa is joining from wh- where are you now in the world, Teresa? In Malaysia? Or are you now in Indonesia?
I'm joining from Bali.
Oh, okay. So she started from my Em and I are joining from the Philippines and currently at 7 p.m. Well, maybe to give more time to meaty conversations later. Shall we start, Emma?
Yes, let's go for it.
Okay. So, hello everyone, and welcome for today's webinar on the Green Fins Connect series. This is our second Connect series. The first one happened last year during our 20th anniversary, but right now it's all exclusive to our Green Fins national teams. So, this series is going to be talking about sustainably financing the Green Fins initiative. So, we're going to talk about ways of financing Greenfin. So it's great to see you here. Great to see your speakers. Some assessors are here, national team leaders, and also key decision makers in from the Greenfins national teams. So for those who doesn't know me, I am usually not very visible on assessments. I handle the digital side of the Greenfins membership. So I'm Erin. I'm from the Reef-World Foundation, and I will be your host for today. We're really excited actually for bringing you to this important discussion. So, on ensuring the long-term sustainability of the Greenfin's efforts globally. So, for those who cannot join in, you will receive this recording, and I hope this will be of value to you. So, before we dive in, I would like to go over a few house reef rules to ensure that we have a smooth and engaging experience. So, captions are available in multiple languages in this Zoom meeting. To access the captions, just click on More on your right hand screen and you can see the transcript. The webinar is being recorded. We love to see your faces, but if you're not comfortable, you can turn your video on. Later, we'll have Q&A sessions, so we appreciate if you raise your hand before unmuting, and please use the comments section to discuss and ask questions. We are ensuring a safe and inclusive space here. And last but not the least, very important, it's very important that we have a blast in this learning exchange. In this today's session, we'll be exploring different ways to finance Greenfin's activities sustainably. You'll hear case studies from across our network. So we have the team from Indonesia, Jordan, and Egypt coming today to learn about their unique and effective funding methods, engage in discussions, and how we can continue to grow Greenfins at both national and international levels. So, as we go through these sessions, we encourage you to ask questions, share your experiences, and be part of the conversation. Noting that the more we collaborate and learn from each other, the stronger our network would be. So, with that, let's get started. To open our event, we will hear a message from our operations director, JJ Harvey.
Hello and Happy New Year, and thank you for joining and attending this webinar. For those that don't know me, my name is JJ Harvey, and I'm one of the co-directors of the Reef-World Foundation, and I've been involved with Greenfins now for 17 years. 2025 is upon us, and it is a year for change, and it's a word that you're going to hear a lot from us. It's change and transformative. And the topic of this agenda is all about sustainably financing the Greenfins initiative. So the final goal, the outcome of this webinar, is we essentially want to ensure the long-term program stability of Greenfins in your country. And our approach to do this is, of course, to share and facilitate knowledge sharing, but also to build on your capacity, but also to build on our capacity here at Reef-World. We don't always have the right answers, and we've had an approach here at Reef-World that we always try to involve our stakeholders as much as possible in shaping the program that impacts them the most. So you are the people with the knowledge and the experience and the know-how, and you know a lot about not just the scuba diving and snorkeling industry, but also about tourism in general, and we want to learn from you from that. So we want those of you with ideas and case studies to share those ideas with us, and for others to hear them as well. But we also want everyone to think outside of the current situation of Greenfins in their country, to think big. Draw on ideas from other sectors or other industries, businesses, and think about how we can create a sustainable finance mechanism for Greenfins to support us moving forwards. So we've got some great speakers, some really interesting case studies, and I really encourage you all to listen and think about how it could apply in your situation. And if it doesn't apply, what would it take to change or adapt that particular model for it to work in your country? So don't be afraid to ask questions, speak up, and once again, a big thank you for joining us, and a big thank you to the rest of the Reef-World team for putting this together. Okay, I hope you enjoy. All the best for now. Bye.
Bye, and thank you, JJ.
Hello.
JJ couldn't join us today because he's based in the UK. But to start things off on the introduction to sustainable financing and, of course, green fins, I would like to introduce and welcome our Senior Programs Officer at the Reef-World Foundation. She is a professional diver and marine conservationist. And she's a professional marine conservationist specializing in sustainable marine tourism within the industry. I don't think you guys know her. Well, you really know her. She's also a green fins assessor and has capacity building in national teams around the world to deliver green fins. Also an expert to sustainable diving, she is dedicated to building an ecosystem resilience so that people and businesses can benefit for generations to come. But before I introduce Emma, welcome Emma to the screen. Can we just please take a photo of everyone here? If you can please turn on your cameras and give us your best smile. Okay, go. Take it away, Teresa.
Well, waiting for everybody to be ready. Any more for anyone? All right, I'm
All
gonna start
right.
taking. 1, 2, 3. Another one. 1, 2, and 3.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay, without further ado, I would like to hand this over to Emma Levy.
Thank you. Thank you, Erin. And it's great to see everybody today. And for those that are watching this later on, thank you so much for taking the time to participate in this webinar. So I know many of you, it's great to see you all. What I'm going to do now is talk a bit about the history of green fins, what's happening now, and what we mean by sustainable financing. So as you all know, green fins began way back 20 years ago as an idea from the United Nations Environment Programme. Then Reef-World, only a couple of years later, Reef-World joined and developed the Code of Conduct in partnership with UNEP. Some 20 years later, we now have a successful global program that provides the only internationally recognized environmental standards for marine tourism. And that isn't just the Reef-World Foundation that's done that. It's thanks to all of the assessors, the people on the ground, you guys that have made that happen. So such a key aspect of Green Fins is to assist resource managers on the ground to protect marine ecosystems. And of course, we do that by reducing local threats in order to make coral reefs and other vital ecosystems resilient to global scale threats such as climate change. So our fantastic national teams, you guys, are comprised of governments, nonprofits, other institutions, universities, and even independents with the skills and, importantly, the passion for conservation. So in each of these countries, Green Fins is owned and managed by national teams who lead the work. And that's what really leads to this success. The fact that it's not just Reef-World doing conservation from overseas, from afar. It's people on the ground that are offering direct support to the dive industry, collaborating with important stakeholders on the ground and building those relationships. And of course, you guys are the experts when it comes to locally practical solutions. So we really rely on you to have that know-how. So to date, everyone's seen this map about 1 million times, but here it is again. This is our map of the Green Fins world. So to date, we've reached 15 countries around the world. So it started off as a project in Phuket in Thailand, and then expanded to around Southeast Asia, also Central Americas and the Caribbean, and of course the Red Sea, with the most recent country being Jordan in 2023, I believe. How time flies. So, of course, we knew way back in 2018 that we needed to scale up and we needed to scale fast. The climate change reports were getting worse and we knew that we needed to take action. So that's why we worked on digital membership. So it launched in 2022, and now we can say that Green Fins reaches over 82 countries around the world, which is a huge impact. Here at Reef-World, we try and do all we can to tailor our support for each country's needs. So what I've done here is I try to split the different components of Green Fins into these sections so that I can sort of run through all the different ways that Green Fins supports the industry, but also supports resource managers to take action on the ground. All of this in-person work requires extensive time and, of course, funding. We're all aware that without the funding, we're not able to do the important work on the ground. So let me take you around this wheel of Green Fins one by one. So top left, we have capacity building. So this is when we're talking about the training that we provide to governments, institutions. So think about those assessor trainings, the trainer trainings. There's a lot of trainings. And of course, importantly, awareness raising for the marine tourism industry themselves. And this is what you guys do when you go to visit the dive centres. You're building capacity for these people that are on the coral reefs, or not on them, around them each day. And we're building their capacity to help protect them. Then we have policy, legislation and frameworks. So this is when we're working with government agencies to help them review their policies and see where Green Fin standards can fit in then their legal frameworks. That then creates this element of Green Fins partnering with enforcement in each country to help maintain those standards and make sure that they're followed by individuals. The next section sounds very serious. We're talking about intelligence reporting, but ultimately this is the data that you guys collect with your Green Fins assessments. What we do at Reef-World is we help you monitor, evaluate, and learn from this data. We can provide you with key insights, such as what the highest threats are in each site. And then that allows resource managers to take action on the ground. The next, digital infrastructure, we're talking about all the kind of digitally savvy things that are ever more important in this growing world of digital. So we have the Green Fins Hub, of course, our go-to place for everything Green Fins. Our website, even the e-courses, all sit within digital infrastructure. And each of these digital tools require extensive work to be maintained, to be enhanced, of course, and to solve any problems we meet along the way. Next is something that you'll all be familiar with, implementation. So that is our engagement with marine tourism industry, everything from recruiting them to assessing them to then supporting them through their membership journey. That all sits within implementation. And finally, last but not least, marketing and communication. So we know from what we've been saying the last few years that there's an ever-growing demand for sustainable tourism. But it's through marketing and communication that we help resource managers on the ground access those tourists that can then bring in money into a country and allow countries to do multitude of things. But it's through communications such as social media, blogs, marketing campaigns that this can happen. Which leads me to talk about sustainable financing. So each of these components needs funding in order to run. So what I mean by sustainable financing is that it allows additional ways to create income to support environmental and social economic objectives. Because the reality now is that Reef-World have been working tirelessly over the last 20 years to bring green fins to each country. But the way that we've attained most of our money is actually through grants and donations. So the costs associated with running such an amazing program cannot be covered by grants alone in this day and age. What we're looking to do is grow and diversify our income sources. And the way we're doing this is in several different ways. So we're looking into corporate fundraising and also increasing individual donations from key donors. But one other exciting opportunity is sustainable financing, finding these alternative ways of income for the work that we do. And this isn't only going to benefit Reef-World, this is going to benefit the national institutions like you who run the initiative on the ground. So thanks to a BNCFF grant that we've been working through the last couple of years, we have been able to take action and in order to proceed when it comes to sustainable financing. So one piece of work that we've done is a feasibility study. So we've done this over the last year where we've reached out to Greenfin's members to find out where they place value in Greenfins. Because the reality is that we offer about 19 products and we call them products or services. So those are certified membership, digital membership, the e-courses, our materials, everything encompassed in that. But interestingly, it was identified that for Reef-World, we only charge for 7 out of those 19 products. And it was an independent consultant that we hired that sort of pointed this out to us. They were like, well, you're providing something really amazing here, but however, you're not charging for it. And the reality is that Greenfin's members around the world really place a lot of value in the environmental education that their dive centres receive, and also the social impact of their dive guides, learning more about how to support marine ecosystem health. Of course, we always want to make sure that Greenfins is accessible for all, which means keeping some elements for free. But there could be an opportunity in the future to start changing the way that we view or value the products that we offer to the industry. So I think that's enough from me. One important thing that's happening is that some national teams are already taking steps towards sustainable financing. And that's exactly what this webinar is all about. We want to hand over to 4 speakers today that are going to talk about how they implement Greenfins in their country and opportunities that they have taken to sustainably finance the initiative. As JJ mentioned in his opening speech, I invite you all to listen and consider how these models could work in your countries. And there'll be time after all the speakers have presented for you to ask questions and us all to have a discussion, which I'm really looking forward to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma. It's very interesting to know how can be green fins be financed in multiple ways. So right now, we will take a trip to Indonesia for our first case study. Our next speaker has over 7 years of experience in environmental conservation across Indonesia. She currently serves as a Green Fins Indonesia assessor and Indonesia admin, supporting the implementation of sustainable diving and marine tourism practices. As the Coral Reef Restoration Task Force Coordinator at the Coral Triangle Center, Dea led coral conservation projects, stakeholder engagement, capacity building initiatives. Her expertise spans from program management, marine conservation, and sustainability integration in the tourism sector. Way before joining CTC, she had experience in Raja Ampat and Komodo, worked as a marine biologist at Ayala Resort Komodo, and was a project coordinator for the DOC or Dive Operators Collaboration Komodo. I would like to invite Dea on the screen.
Thank you, Erin, for the lovely introduction. So I'm just sharing my screen now and just want to make sure that you can see this already. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so hello again, everyone. So my name is Dea, and in Greenfins, I am one of the assessors in Indonesia and also supporting as the Greenfins admin. And I'm working with Coral Triangle Center or CTC. So we are an NGO based in Bali that focuses on the management of marine protected areas. So we have a site at Nusa Penida MPA in Bali, Maluku, Timor-Leste, and also several capacity building related activities across the Coral Triangle. So CTC has been working together with the Reef-World Foundation since 2018, and CTC is currently the national coordinator of Greenfins in Indonesia. Currently, we have 6 active assessors in Indonesia, more than 100 operators registered in the hub, and 36 active members as of January 2025. So our assessors, 6 of us are currently based in Bali and Lombok, which is indicated by the green pins on the map below. So 5 in Bali and 1 assessor is based in Lombok. And in terms of implementation of Greenfins in Indonesia, when it comes to assessment, we do this when we receive a request from the marine tourism operators when they want to get certified or renew their certification for the year. Then we figure out a schedule where it's good for them and also where the assessors are available. And what's in Indonesia, the operators agreed to cover the cost of their own assessment. So they will take care of the logistics for the 2 assessors. So whether it's a car pickup, for example, or boat ride to the island where they are based. And also the assessors don't have to pay for the diving trip when they go on the assessment, but also the operators don't have to pay for the assessor's time, because in Indonesia, the operation of the assessment is done on a voluntary basis for the assessors. Typically, we have lots of members at Nusa Penida Island or Nusa Lembongan, which takes around a 60-minute boat ride. And the operators at the area, they are getting lots of guests coming from the mainland as well. So when we have to do assessment there, they usually help with the bookings of accommodations and the boats. And in the map of Indonesia here, you can see it's an archipelago with many islands spread across a wide range of area. And the yellow pins indicate the areas where we have been getting requests for in-person assessment. Some of these areas are very far. So we have been getting requests from Anambas Island, Alor, Maluku, and even as far as West Papua. Travels to these areas can be tricky or logistically complex as well. It may take 1 or 2 days only just to reach the area. And then there may only be 2 or 3 active operators there who wants to get certified. So for areas that are very far, we usually have to refer them to digital membership, as we consider our time effectivity as well. So for example, if it's 5 days of travel only to assess one dive operator, then we usually refer them to digital first, because we cannot go there in person. Since we have a case like this, we try to encourage a collaborative effort from the operators. So we have been going to Komodo now, since there are lots of operators there who are interested in getting a certified membership of Greenfins. So what they do is they coordinate together and do collective effort in funding the trip of the 2 assessors to go to Komodo and back. So how it usually goes, it's usually, for example, so 5 days in Komodo for 6 operators. So it's 1 day for the assessors to travel there, and then 3 days of full assessment for 6 dive centers. So the dive centers have to pair up and coordinate. So who's going to take the assessors for the morning dive? And then we usually jump boat in the middle of the sea, and with the second operators who are going to take the assessors for the afternoon dives, and then take the assessors back to the mainland, which is Labuan Bajo City. And the raising awareness presentation is usually also combined for the 2 operators for the day. And then we have a separate feedback session for each owner or manager. So a typical assessment day in Komodo usually runs from 7 a.m. in the morning up to 7 p.m. at night. And as of last year, we have been getting increasing interest from operators in Komodo, and actually managed to do 2 batches of assessment. So 2 assessors go in turns, and we now have 9 active members in Komodo. We have the same case in Pamutaran. So Pamutaran is still in the Bali area actually, but it's quite far from where we are based. So they are around 3 to 4 hours car ride. So what the operators over there do, they usually also coordinate annually to arrange and get the assessors there. And in Pamutaran now we have 2 gold members as of last year. In Nusa Penida and Lombok area, it's also a general practice for the operators to get the assessors there. It usually takes either 1 full day, or sometimes depending on the time of where their operation start, it can take 2 days because of the boat schedule going there or going back. So that has been going well, but we still have challenge in areas that are less connected or still very far. So for example, in Anambas Island, which is all the way in the Riau archipelago, we have been getting requests from them actually now for 3 years in a row, but we haven't really been able to go because it takes 2 days to get there. And they're located in a separate island, very far from the other islands. So they're located 5 to 8 hours boat ride away. And there are also only 2 to 3 operators there who may or may not be interested yet in getting a Greenfins assessment. So we still refer them to digital membership now. So the ideal for us will be, like, the dream is to have a pair of assessors in every region or every area, where those 2 assessors can actually do the assessments for the operators in the area annually. So right now what we are trying to see is how Greenfins can be integrated to the government's National Action Plan, and then see how it can go from there. So from what we have learned across the years is that this way of implementation is a good way to network as well. So not only between the assessors and the dive centers or the snorkeling operators, but also between the operators who are willing to coordinate and then talk with each other and collaborate for Greenfins. And we hope that this can also be explored further as a scalable model for sustainable financing. So that's all I can share with you right now. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and looking forward to our discussion later.
Thank
So
you.
back to you, Erin.
Thank you, Dea. It's actually very inspiring to hear that dive centers collaborate to fund these assessments. It really reflects the demand for green fins in this location, and also highlighting on utilizing the green fins digital membership to help address the demand. But right now, we will travel halfway across the world to Egypt for our next speaker. So Hani is a diving industry expert and quality assurance auditor at the Chamber of Water Sports and Diving in Egypt. His experience in the diving industry spans for over 20 years, working as a dive instructor and dive shop manager before moving to CWDS. This plays a pivotal role as one of the ISO auditors for the dive industry in Egypt. His role at CWDS and within the Greenfins Egypt team combines standards in safety and the environment. He has been part of the Greenfins Egypt team now for many years, a certified Greenfins assessor trainer since 2022 and team leader since 2024. I would like to welcome Hani.
Hello, everyone. Um, it's good hearing from everyone around. My name is Hani. I'm a Green Fence Assessor Trainer and ISO Quality Auditor and CDWS Auditor. Let me check the screen. Yeah. Okay, so today I'm going to speak a little bit about the CDWS. It's a short note about what CDWS is doing in Egypt and the program of Green Fence, and also what we have done to survive doing all the assessments around the years. So the CDWS is a non-profitable organization founded by the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities in 2007. The main goal of the CDWS was to improve the quality and safety and standards of services in the diving and water sports industry. Also, we start working with preserving the unique environment in the Red Sea, as the Red Sea is a home of about 1,200 species of fish. 10% of those we cannot find anywhere else. So we start adapting the Green Fence program in September 2019. We were the 11th country to adopt the Green Fence. And from day one, we put a threshold of 150 points to obtain a Green Fence certification. And this was even before the Reef-World Foundation established a threshold. That's why most of our diving centers, operators, and safari boats, most of them, they are silver. We have one diving center started from the 2019, and the last year they reached the 0 points, and this was really amazing. They're working so hard to reach this level. We have many of them gold members. The objectives of the Green Fence was to minimize the environmental impact to tourism on corals. The coral reefs of the Red Sea provides economic value through tourism. It's contributing with about 7 billion annually. The sector of tourism is contributing of 15% of the Egypt's gross domestic products. However, the climate change, pollution, and unsustainable tourism caused significant threats to this ecosystem. So we needed strategies to minimize tourism environmental impact and promoting eco-friendly training programs. So currently, not currently, actually from the beginning of starting the program, we the CDWS decided to make it sustainable. We have to make some fees for the diving centers for doing the assessment itself. So from the beginning, we started with, I think, 65 euros fees for each diving center that applies for the green fence. By ensuring that those assessments remain full funded, it makes it sustainable for us to continue with the program. Actually, the fees for this assessment was covering a lot of expenses. So the transportations, travel expenses for assessors to visit different dive centers in different locations in Egypt. Also, we implemented an assessor fee to make it a motive for the assessors to work in a full time with the green fence assessments. We also implemented this fees to cover the equipment usage, the what else? The insurance, printable materials for the operators. Those fees also was used in some environmental projects like mending and installing mooring lines and fixing the existing ones, doing some marine researches. And also while we are doing that, we discovered that it enforced the diving centers and diving operators for compliance with the green fence code of conducts. It takes the program they start taking the program seriously and adhere to the green fence sustainability guidelines. Also, they understand that their financial contribution directly support conservation's efforts we have done, and they start feeling a sense of responsibility in maintaining the practices or the best practices to protect Egypt's marine ecosystem. The commitment to sustainability by the CDWS is always there, and we are always trying to be pioneers in this programs. The conclusion, as you can see, we are committed to the sustainability and collecting efforts, collaborating with the dive centers, authorities, and divers ensure long-term impact on the coral reef. Also, Egypt's coral reef is a treasure, it's a national treasure that must be preserved for future generations through sustainability and sustainable tourism. That's all.
Thank you so much, Hani, for sharing Greenfin's Egypt's assessment fee system. That we also see that it encourages collaborative effort. Also, it needs commitment, and of course, it ensures the sustainability of the program. Next up, we have our speaker from Egypt as well. Lina Challita is an ecologist and pro diver who grew up on the Red Sea. For the past 6 years, she worked on rolling out sustainable practices and environmental policy for the management of maritime tourism industry in Egypt, including having a pivotal role in launching Greenfins Egypt. She's also a qualified Greenfins assessor trainer and a trusted expert in the Greenfins Community Forum. Hello, Lina. Um, Kindly unmute yourself first, Lina.
Yes, I forgot to.
There.
Hello, everyone. Good to be with you today. So I'll discuss a bit about the experience of implementing Greenfins in Egypt through the CDWS. I worked with them for 5 years as their environmental affairs manager and contributed to the launch and implementation of the initiative from 2019 to 2023. So, I mean, Reef-World Foundation first arrived in 2019. Our team in Egypt was going to be split into 2 teams, as the CDWS has an office in Sharm el-Sheikh and an office in Hurghada, which are 2 different like states or governorates. So the assessor trainer program was going to be done in 2 steps, one in Sharm el-Sheikh and another in Hurghada, which happened between September 2019 to Feb 2020. And then we were going to plan a nationwide launch after February 2020, but we got, unfortunately, quite unlucky due to COVID that closed down tourism. So the actual launch of Greenfins had to be delayed to summer of 2021, as soon as tourism started to come back to Egypt and all of the operators started to reopen. As before, we were not able to do any forms of assessments as there were not tourists. There were no tourists in town. So as we started the launch in 2021, Greenfins had been funded through a UNDP grant that focused on sustainable tourism and Red Sea conservation, which funded the implementation of the certification scheme, which was mainly going to cover the first 4 years from initial assessment trainings and assessor trainings to the independence where we become assessor trainers. However, we did not manage to get funding to cover the running costs of the programs. And as my colleague Hani mentioned, all of the assessors that were trained were working full-time at the CDWS, so they were already technical and safety auditors, for example, or people that worked in the offices. Everyone's a diver, but we all have different kinds of day-to-day jobs. So Egypt did, as Hani mentioned, 2 new things. First was implementing a fee, which was going to cover the running costs of the assessment, to have 2 assessors that would usually have other tasks to do, to be able to free up their day and go do a full day assessment. So this was the first thing. The second thing we introduced was also the minimum score. This was not done at the beginning anywhere else in other Greenfin's member countries. So at a minimum score of 150 or less, which means everyone was going to begin at silver, pretty much. And this was in mind because the industry here is so large, and we wanted Greenfins to be used as a tool for operators to distinguish themselves for their sustainability efforts, so that they can use it for marketing, they could use it to really get incentives in the diving industry, and for us to be able to support those that are really making an effort. So that's how we decided to launch the initiative in the country. So in terms of fees and defining fees to run for running costs, since we were the first country to have a fee, and certain operators were aware that internationally this was not the case. It was also before the digital certification was implemented by Reef-World. So it was not, we received a bit of criticism, to be honest, because we were the first to come out. So the industry kind of like, well, hey, how come here it's with a fee and abroad it's not? So a best advice and recommendation when launching something like this is to have clear communication and transparency with the industry on why we're doing this, why there's a fee, and so other countries don't. And it's also to properly evaluate your fee itself. So it's to study already the diving and snorkeling operator or operation as a business, look at their incomes, take into consideration the fees they have to pay annually as well. So to take note that they already have environmental fees, several environmental fees that are paid to the marine protected areas, for example. Also to take into consideration the Ministry of Tourism license as a business, the membership license for CDWS, insurances, boat maintenance fees, boat license fees, all of these kind of the fees to train dive training agencies, to kind of come up with a price that covers our costs, but is also proportionate to the business and the market, and it would be accessible for all, because not everyone would become a member on the first assessment. Some members, and quite often at the beginning, we noticed that a lot of members might need a second assessment. So it had to be a fee that operators that would be willing to pay twice in order to become a member. So accessibility and clear communication to operators was key in coming up with the launch. And at first we started off with a very minimum fee, and then with economic with all of the economic situation here and inflation, everything had to be reassessed with time. Also, it was very simple. We managed to do the fees through an online payment. So everything was digitalized. We would send them a digital invoice, and everything was done via email. And this really allowed the initiative to grow over time. And also for us to be able to travel to various destinations around the country, including the Deep South in Marsa Alam, for example, and even for us to be able to do liverboards. So it allowed us as people who worked full-time at the CDWS be able to take full days out of work and even go on liverboards for assessments. So in terms of advice for any other Greenfins country that would like to do a similar approach, really it's about evaluating your market and the businesses around to try to fit in and be very accessible for the industry. So yes, thank you, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Lina. That was very insightful. And thank you for sharing how the assessment fee works and introducing the minimum score for certified members and how it was born. Actually, it's the first of its kind. And also, it was really interesting on how you guys find the assessment fee very reasonable to cover the costs and as well as the dive centers can also afford. So we will now take a trip to Jordan. For our next speaker, we'll share insights on sustainable financing for greenfins, building institutional support, and securing funding for conservation initiatives. Dom is a blue economy and sustainable tourism expert for over 20 years of experience in tourism, digitalization, marketing, market positioning. He is based in Aqaba for over 6 years. He supports sustainable tourism and marine conservation initiatives. While doing all of that, he is also a consultant for Bonfire Digital, a Cape Town based digital tourism consultancy. Dom also collaborates with CBI on tourism transformation in Jordan, helping businesses leverage digital strategies for growth. He is a passionate diver since the age of 9 and has explored for over 80 diving destinations worldwide and has worked extensively with DMOs, SMBs across the Middle East, including Oman, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Yemen. Dom is actually directly involved in implementing Greenfin's program in Jordan and currently serves as the Greenfin's Jordan local management team leader. In his role, he oversees communication, stakeholder engagement, marketing assessments, overall team support, ensuring the program's successful integration into Aqaba's diving industry. His efforts have focused on driving awareness, fostering partnerships, and improving operational efficiency with the local diving center. I would like to welcome.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. And thank you, Erin, for the introduction. Happy to see you guys and happy to be part of it as always. Quickly, I will showcase our, well, hopefully a potential model for assessor remuneration when it comes to the money that everyone wants and everyone is asking for, because this is our mantra recently. But yes, it wasn't an easy task in Aqaba, but we got there in the end. So few words about the current status and a bit of a history. We started just after the COVID pandemic in 2023, when the program started the implementation. It was implemented together with the GIZ support. ASEZA is the local government, Aqaba Special Economic Zone. You have to understand that we are a bit of a government within the government. Aqaba and ASEZA zone are in the south of Jordan at the Red Sea, and we do have our, let's say, separate government to the rest of the country. So that puts sometimes span in the works as well. Anyway, what happened? We had a lovely training with the girls from Reef-World Foundation, Emma and Chloe, visiting us. Extensive training. We did a couple of pilot assessments with 4 dive centers at the time. Developed 6 assessors. They were certified and they went under the extensive training with Reef-World. And then we managed to assess 10 dive centers. So that was the situation of the initial phase 2023/2024, and all of the assessments were conducted on the voluntary basis at the time. So this is something that is quite similar that we are talking at that time with Indonesia that was presented earlier, but from the very, very beginning, we started seeing a drop in the assessors numbers due to the lack of the financial support. because from the very beginning of the implementation of the program, yes, we were talking about sustaining the team. We were talking about long-term engagement of the assessors and providing them with some sort of a remuneration. So that hasn't happened at the time, besides of the fact that there were early recommendations from GIZ studies. There were also there was support from Reef-World on the previous cases. We studied them. We were thinking how to engage potential donors. We were talking to ASEZA, which is the governing body. We were also looking for private sector and sponsorships. Good example is that there's a program which is focused on the cleanups in Jordan. They are based in Amman. They managed to secure funding from Orange Network and also from Toyota car dealers to sponsors. I think what was happening, they were more spectacular in terms of media to show, logos during the cleanups and ton of rubbish taken out of the Red Sea, rather than thinking about long term and something, less tangible than a short action. Anyway, we were constantly exploring those potential, sources of finance, and we continued our outreach to ASEZA for any financial backing. The other problem that we were facing in between of the COVID and the stage what happened in 2024, we went into another disaster. Geopolitical situation hit us very badly. Jordan is a little gem nested in the middle of the conflicts that they're going around in the Middle East, and we had a complete drop in terms of tourists. So we're talking flights seized. We didn't have any tourists coming really to Aqaba. Dead city, completely, ghost town. Only some locals during the weekends, and then started a bit picking up when it comes to visitors from Saudi Arabia, for example, or the Gulf. So that was also our challenge at the time, and the program has ceased for over 6 months at the time, despite the fact that we had more and more registrations from the dive centers that were interested in becoming Greenfins members. We were not able, unfortunately, to conduct those assessments, partially because of the lack of funding, and it was clearly said by the team. They are, again, similar situation to Egypt, where they are, team members that they working full time. We have got assessors from Jordan University, from the Royal Jordanian Navy, Aqaba Marine Reserve, and a full day to spend on an assessment. It was a strain on them, on their families as well, and on the sources of income. So that's what was the reason behind it. We were constantly seeking funding. Again, we were constantly seeking support, networking, trying to lobby the local stakeholders to engage them into this process. So end of 2024, we boosted those efforts. The support from the CBI program manager that asked formally the ASEZA Chief Commissioner to look into this case. I'm a part of the CBI program, which is focusing on the tourist development in Jordan for the last 4 years now. And we presented the case. We presented the fact that Aqaba and Jordan in general, with our support, is working towards becoming a sustainable destination. And it all fit the narrative. We managed to convince the top representatives of the government to look into it again, to see there is a very important thing also from the perspective of greenwashing. Sorry to say, it was a bit of a leverage here that we had, because you can't talk about sustainability when there is no program, isn't it? So yeah, that's what happened. We ignite some internal discussions, and that has led to formation of a dedicated funding committee within ASEZA. ASEZA is running committees related to all sorts of work within the governorate, and I was so happy to see that actually this little, seed is being put, that we have secured some sort of remuneration from the governmental side that will engage the assessors first, and the second thing that will encourage potential donors maybe to join in the effort and understand the importance of the program. huge role of it. Also, it was the deputy director of tourism at ASEZA that is directly involved in the marketing of the destination, the Green Destinations program that Aqaba is involved in for over 3 years now. Also, the product head of the product development of ASEZA, Thelma Radwan, she was really instrumental in this to constantly push the government to support us. So the final agreement, it is a monthly remuneration per assessment via ASEZA payroll. And we are talking here about, we have got 6 assessors trained, 4 of them are active at the moment. The remaining 2 are still awaiting for a refresher that is required to get them back on the track when it comes to the knowledge about the recent developments. And assessors are being paid per assessment, as I mentioned. That ensures their motivation. That was a huge milestone for us as a team. It was a huge milestone for the program. And also, I need to mention here that they are not restricted, but they are, well, let's say the maximum number of assessments per one assessor is 2 per month. This is related to the limits of the funding from ASEZA. For the transparency, it's also good for us because 2 assessors doing one assessment at the time also gives more transparency and credibility when it comes to the whole process, especially with the competing dive centers here. So that's one part of it. And what I have to mention here that over the 2 years now of the program, we have managed to gather a team of assessors that they were doing it all on the voluntary basis. Even the recent reassessments and assessments of the new dive centers that we managed to do 9 dive centers in 2024, no, 24, yes, were done within the span of 2 to 3 weeks maximum. We just cracked on with this, and all of them were done on the voluntary basis with the promise that ASEZA will do a back payment for those. I have got, guys, I have to tell you something, that I have got amazing people working with me. It's a team of really dedicated, friends. Really, I can say that. They standing behind the program, behind the management here, behind myself, and behind all the activities that we're doing as a Greenfins in Aqaba. And I was really, really, thankful for them to do it and to follow this kind of suit of being supportive towards well, sustainable development of the destination, because this is what is an importance here. So talking about additional support from ASEZA and Visit Aqaba, we had a long term of struggling with the dive centers in terms of marketing, for example, in terms of the providing them with educational materials, funding some events, cleanups and everything like that. ASEZA stepped in really greatly, and they are supporting us now in terms of production of the educational materials. They got some merchandise for us. Here we go. They got us, a lot of funding for the awareness events. They support us logistically. We're talking about securing the venues, refreshments, transportation, marketing of those events internally and externally. The same with comes to the training and cleanups. So that's what's happening at the moment, and that's what we achieved within the last let's say 2 years, but with a focus on the recent couple of months, to be honest. And I'm so happy that we got it back on the track. I have to mention here that the program is funded for the 4 years from implementation, and this is funded mainly by ASEZA, by the government, Jordanian government itself, with the support of IUCN, and also implementation was supported financially and in terms of staff support by GIZ. CBI is supporting it at the moment, and is supporting the program in terms of logistics, in terms of marketing, in terms of outreach as well. And what I can say, what we learned from it is every funding model is crucial. So this is something that I think as a Greenfins network, we need to remember, and we need to think about it whenever we implement it in a new country, or there are any potential changes to the program. Early awareness of the fact that there is a need for a sustainable model for it is very crucial. Buy-in of the institutions, buying of the stakeholders is the best solution. And also, as Emma mentioned before, we cannot rely on donors and donor programs completely. This is something that we need to start exploring more and more, looking into private sector, looking into the dive centers as well, when it comes to financing the program. Dive centers at the moment, they are not paying for the membership. This is related to the COVID, and also related to the fact that we have this kind of difficult situation at the moment, and that's the support that ASEZA and the Jordanian government is giving to the diving sector. Also very important is to start early with the DMRs, with the key authorities. That's what I mentioned already. They are able to provide this kind of exposure, credibility, funding, all those aspects of a cooperation and financing of the program. So scaling, my question is, can other Greenfins teams can replicate this approach? I think it is possible. It is something that any country could relate to, and definitely, if you have any more questions, if there's anything related to our work that we are doing here together with the Reef-World Foundation and Greenfins in Jordan, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Dom. Dom's last question is, can this be replicated in other teams? So I appreciate Dom for sharing how you seek different solutions for sustainable financing, and of course sharing the system for assessors that keeps them motivated. So we've just heard some incredible insights and real-world examples of how Greenfin teams have implemented innovative financing strategies. Now we will take a moment to reflect on how these ideas can inspire you, or that you can be adapted into your own countries or own contexts. So I would like to invite all speakers on the screen and Emma to be on the screen, as we will now dive into some questions from our network. And also, if you would like to ask a question, please do raise your hand, maximize the chat box, and please feel free to share your thoughts through this learning exchange. Hello, everyone. Let me see.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. That was very meaty and interesting. Actually, whoa, like, you know how different I am with how we manage memberships. This is an eye-opening conversation for me, Emma. What was your biggest takeaway, or as of the moment?
I really like how everyone was sort of already thinking about how their case studies could be scaled to other countries. We've got loads of advice from each speaker about how it could be applied, or what to consider when applying their model in each country. But I think we've got more questions for them, Erin. I think we can get more information from them once we're here.
Actually, the first question is our speaker. Here, okay. Actually, the first question goes to Dea. Dea, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you share some top tips on how your approach could be modified to work in other Greenfins countries? So your current model in CTC, what do you think others could take away from that to start the same model?
Based on our experience, since this is based on the collaboration between the operators, I think every country must already have operators who are committed and who really cares about reducing their impact in the environment and who believes in how Greenfins work. So I think once you have that and they're willing to collaborate, it's already half the step. And from experience, it's communication becomes really important here. So how we can help them to achieve that. with the operators in Komodo, for example, the first assessment, like we really have to give them lots of guidance and a very clear picture on how the assessment process is going to be. And after the first round of year of assessment, then the next gets easier, and now they are practically able to arrange everything by themselves.
Wow, that's very nice. So did just a follow-up question, did CTC encourage dive centers to cooperate to cover the cost, or did the dive centers themselves had the initiative to do this?
So interestingly, this was first done in 2019, and it was actually dive centers in Pemutaran who suggested this way, because at the time there was no funding for travel for the assessors, and they really want to get certified. So they say, just come here and then we'll cover the cost. And it works well. So when we have requests coming from other region, we also propose that to them. And then it works really well with Komodo. And now we make that as our standard for the places that are outside of Bali.
Yeah, very nice. That's very inspiring. Actually, we have one hand up. Nazirul, you can unmute yourself and ask a question.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Nazirul here from Reef-Check Malaysia. First of all, just want to congratulate all the speakers for your sharing. So actually, my question is to Dea. So I think so the assessment system that CPC or Indonesia uses quite similar to what we use here in Malaysia. But I'm quite interested to hear about, because I heard you mention that the assessors' time pretty much on a voluntary basis. So like, how does that work? Like, because I assume like you work with CTC. So then did you conduct the assessment during your personal time, or was it like absorbed by CTC?
Yeah, thank you for your question. So yes, in Indonesia, we have several assessors from CTC, which is an NGO, and assessors from another NGO, and also some from the government. So for the assessors of CTC, Greenfins has been integrated to our work plan. So the assessor's time is in a way is paid by CTC. And we're also able to go to do assessment during our work time. For the other assessors outside of CTC, that's why it depends greatly on their availability, whether they can do the assessment for that certain schedule or not. And it is a voluntary basis for them. For the assessors who are a government staff, since it's endorsed by the government as well, they're given permission to go on a Greenfins assessment, and we usually help with the administration, sending a letter to the government requesting the staff time to go for Greenfins assessment during certain dates.
Thank you, Dea. That's so interesting. And it just shows how much logistics and planning go into making Greenfins happen. It's very impressive. And I know that you're organizing a lot of that. So well done. Nazirul, has your question been answered? Have you got any follow-up there?
Yeah. Like I said, it's pretty much similar to what we've been doing in Malaysia, as I think you've already know. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Nazirul, for your question. That was great. Okay, I'm going to move on and ask Dom. We've got a question for you about your case in Jordan, because what we notice is that it's quite an interesting and unique case in that it's a special economic zone authority, ASEZA, that is behind the financing of assessor remuneration. So what we want to know is, what could other special economic zones learn from your implementation of Greenfins? especially on how funds for implementation are sourced and even allocated?
Thank you, Emma. I think what can be the best example is the fact that the tourism is going towards sustainable development. And Greenfins is one of the best examples of it, in my opinion, when it comes to the coastal development, to the marine development, and all sorts of special zones and marine parks and those areas. I think it needs to go simultaneously together with the implementation of the sustainable development by the destination, by the DMO, and the special economy zone. Also the fact that those organizations, they do have more money than the rest of the country because they have got all sorts of regulations and activities to support their growth and to support the growth of the businesses and the private sector within the boundaries. So I think that's one of those key facts that can be used here to leverage and outsearch and talking with them about funding. It took us a while. Yeah, we have to understand that it's a government everywhere. It takes time. It is paperwork. It is meetings. It is all sorts of politics as well involved. But if there is someone within the team, I think with the support of the organization, can leverage the program and presented it, do a bit of lobbying, do a bit of footwork, I think it is doable. I want to say again something very important, that simultaneously I would also look at the private sector, because the private sector might not know about those activities because might be no marketing about it within the country itself. This is something where we were trying also to communicate with the local government and say that there's lots of things being done. One of them is Greenfins. Why don't you talk about it? Why don't you showcase this activity to the local population and to the private sector as well, to get their interest? And that's slowly but surely, I'm happy to see it's happening. So yeah.
Thank you, Dom. And it's so interesting what you were saying about how Aqaba are doing a whole huge sustainable tourism campaign, and Greenfins is the sort of evidence, the proof of that. And it's actually beneficial for them to then put money towards it. So thank you. Really, really useful.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Emma. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dom.
Dom.
Next up is let's get down to business for finances. This question goes to Hani. We are very curious, what is the process do you use for the assessment fee collection? Does it need capacity for human resource? Is it an automatic system that you have? What are the resources needed for this process? Honey? Oh, I think you're still muted. There.
Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Sorry again.
It's okay.
Sorry.
We are very curious on how the assessment fee, the process of the assessment fee collection works. Does this need to have a human resource? What capacity do you allocate for the assessment fees?
Uh,
Yeah. So earlier you told us that you have the assessment fee for the operations, and it was mentioned that it was also gonna be paid annually. So how does the process of these
it's
fees work? Is it gonna be digital? How do they pay the assessment fee for you guys?
actually um, the assessment fees are paid before we go to the assessment. So whenever any diving center would like to renew their certification or apply for the new certification, we ask them to pay the assessment fees. It's not related to the certification, but it's like a visit fees. and actually it goes directly to the CDWS, and they start using the money in covering the expenses, and the rest is used in doing some environmental projects. If
Thank you. That's
if I
yeah.
understand what was your question, if this is the answer.
Yes. The assessors pay it beforehand before the assessment so that they can secure a slot for an assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. We have a question in the chat actually earlier, a question from Dom. So that everyone can benefit from your answer. The question was, how difficult was it to implement a minimum threshold or 150 for all certified members in Egypt? And do you have any setback with this standard?
Actually, it was not difficult at all, as from the beginning, when we started doing the assessments, not all of the diving centers passed directly. They needed to do a revisit. We needed to visit them again, and it was a decision made by the board members in the beginning that this is the threshold that everybody in Egypt should reach. There was no difficulty at all. It's just it was like an extra load, but it's already done. Yeah, you know. So most of the diving centers in the beginning, they started with a score between I think 160 till 190. So usually what we do is we give them the 3 points to the action plan so they can work through it, and we revisit them again after a month or couple of months. So it was working like that from the beginning.
That's great. So the assessment fees are covered for 2 visits, and then it's just extra workload. It's very interesting that these dive centers are very committed to implement their action plans to be a Green Fins member. Thank you, Hani. I'm gonna hand it back over to you, Emma.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to add that it's interesting that an assessment fee can actually dive centers can see extra value in Greenfin's membership that maybe wouldn't be seen in a free membership. And that's something that we're certainly thinking about at Reef-World. When you have a charge for something, then it makes it all of a sudden more interesting than something you're handing out for free. But I want to hand over to Lina now because I have a question for you. So aside from seeing the value, there's also the other side, which is resistance from the industry. And you did touch on some points in your talk about how stakeholders received the idea of a fee system. But what tips do you have for others wanting to bring in an assessment fee when it comes to resistance or hesitation from the dive industry stakeholders?
So when we launched, we actually met quite a lot of resistance in terms of the fees and also the minimum score, because we were the first country to do it. So if any member or operator went on the Greenfin's website, they understood that in other countries it was free. And they also understood that in other countries there was no minimum score. And our industry here is quite international. So we have operators that have friends in the Philippines, friends in the Maldives, or branches of their companies in the Maldives and in Indonesia and here and there. So it's a phone call. Hello, we met you at Dima, we met you at Boot. What's happening? Hello. Oh, it's done differently in Egypt, hey? Hey. So we did have a fair amount of questions. So that's why I mentioned communication had to be very clear in terms of newsletters, emails, and a lot of one-on-one call when we're not calls, but like visits. So it was a bit of sales work. So, I mean, I was part of the one, I would go knocking, calling friends who worked in dive centers, who own dive centers, calling them on the phone. We did like meetings where we invited a lot of people and started to explain what's green fins, why we're launching this. So we had a lot to do, a lot of communications and interactions with people, and also explain why they should join, but also why they should contribute, and that they're really helping change the destination. So in terms of the minimum score, one of our very helpful arguments was that you're designating yourself from other operators. And this really helped when there was the collaboration between Reef-World and Greenfins with Project Aware, Paddy, and Paddy Travel. This really was a game changer because it was an internationally recognized incentive to become a Greenfins member. It's a business at the end. All of the operators are business. They care about and they're environmentally active, but at the end, we need to be able to incentivize operators in terms of their visibility and their marketing. So this was a huge game changer, I have to admit. Tips is try to, as Jordan is doing, we have to look at it on a national scale and how it's changing a destination, and how, in terms of you as a business, as a diving or snorkeling operator, how you fit into the bigger picture of changing the destination, how we operate. And yes, it's at a fee because you're supporting our running costs for us to be able to certify you. And there's a minimum score to really put you in a pool of people, of members that are distinguished. So why we chose 150? Because at the time it was just going to be around the international average of all Greenfins members around the world. I remember Chloe had showed me a chart with all of the scores, and 150 was around the international average. So in Egypt, you become a member, you're at the equivalent of all of the other Greenfins members at the same range as people in Philippines, Indonesia, Jordan, and elsewhere. So that's why how we came about choosing 150. And also it's close to the silver range, and it has a very nice ring to it, right? And it's in the middle. So in terms of tips is really kind of making it into a plan to see how different ministries, governmental authorities, how to put Greenfins into a picture for it to be a useful tool for the diving operator on various scales.
Yes. Thank you, Lina. And it is really critical to put in green fins there in the plans of local government so that it can be sustainable, and dive centers can be encouraged to join. We have one question from Narizul. This is to Dom. Did I hear correctly that ASEZA has committed to a 4-year implementation of the remuneration package? If so, what is the financial plan beyond the 4 years?
Hello, thank you for the question, Nazril. 4 years of covering the program in Jordan, not the assessors. The committee for the assessors remuneration is indefinite until the program is running, or we will mess something up. So yeah, that's the 4 years. The 4 years is covering the membership fees, and that's it really. Yeah. By the way, Lina, definitely I agree with you. It is a bit of a sales work, but also I felt many times as a unionist and the trade union representative going around and causing strikes and riots sometimes. So yeah.
Thank you, Dom, and thank you, Lina. We have a couple more questions, but we're limited with time. But we're taking all note of these questions, and we will send them over email. And of course, send the transcript to our viewers who is now watching this as a recording. We have heard so many insightful discussions here, and We have explored innovative funding methods and discussed ways to strengthen the long-term sustainability of green fins at both national and global levels. So it's very inspiring to see the dedication and commitment of our national teams across the network, and I hope today's discussion have sparked new ideas and opportunities to all of you. So for everyone here, can we please give heart reacts or happy reacts to all of our speakers right now? We really appreciate their insights. And personally for me, it's a very interesting topic. Um, but before we officially wrap up, I'd like to invite Dev, the Reef-World Programs Manager, to share some closing remarks. Over to you, Dev.
Thank you for the valuable insights of our speakers today and for the Blue Natural Capital Financing Facility of the IUCN for making this discussion possible. As we conclude this webinar, it is important to reflect on the tangible steps ahead that will shape the future of Greenfins. Our shared journey towards sustainable financing and long-term program resilience is about to enter a transformative phase, one that relies heavily on you, on your collective expertise and commitment as assessors in national teams. Over the coming months, we will launch a series of transformative activities designed to strengthen our operations, enhance financial sustainability, and to broaden the impact of Greenfins worldwide. This isn't just a top-down initiative, it's a co-design process where your on-the-ground experiences and innovative ideas will directly inform the evolution of the Greenfins program. Here's what you can expect next. We are setting up collaborative sessions where assessors like you and national team members all around the world can actively contribute to refining our model for sustainable financing. Your feedback from today's case studies and discussions are going to help shape practical, locally adaptable solutions for other countries and for other communities that will address the real challenges in our diverse operational environments. Your role remains crucial, whether it's through proposing new income generating models, sharing cost analysis data, or piloting innovative assessment fee structures. Your contributions are essential to building a sustainable and scalable Greenfins framework. The success of our initiative hinges on practical, local solutions, and you are at the forefront of this change. We are calling on every stakeholder, assessors, coordinators, team leaders, and key decision makers to come forward with your innovative ideas and proposals. Tell us what works in your context, share your challenges, and propose new approaches that could make a real difference. Your insights are not only welcome, they are critical to driving our collective success. And also we invite you to join our upcoming workshop. It's a hybrid workshop. It's going to be based in Jakarta, but you can join online on February 19, and that is in the Asia time zone. More information can be provided to you by our officers. And in this workshop, we will have a learning exchange where we will discuss these financing strategies in detail. We're so excited about this exchange, and this forum is designed to facilitate deep dive discussions, exchange best practices as we always do in our community, and identify actionable next steps tailored to your local contexts. The next chapter for Greenfins is one of pragmatic innovation and co-created progress. Your insights today have already set the stage for a meaningful change, and we look forward to working closely with you to build a better Greenfins program, more resilient, more financially sustainable, and we will continue this journey together by not just sharing ideas, but also challenging the status quo, and also, most importantly, turning innovative concepts into actionable solutions for marine conservation. Thank you once again for your dedication and participation. We will keep in touch, and together we are going to make a real difference for our coral reefs, for our oceans, and for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dev. And of course, thank you to our speakers, Dea, Lina, Dom, and Hani. We truly appreciate the case studies and experiences you've shared, both successes and challenges. These real world examples not only help us learn from each other, but also strengthen our collaborative efforts in making Greenfins a more sustainable program in the long term. As we wrap up today's webinar, in behalf of Reef-World, we just want to take a moment to sincerely thank each and every one of you for taking the time of being here or watching this recording. Your engagement has made this session incredibly valuable. And most importantly, we want to say that we recognize you, our national teams, are the backbone of green fins in your countries. The work that you do is on the ground is what drives meaningful change, as what Dev said, in the diving and tourism industry, helping to ensure a more sustainable future for our oceans that we all love. So, we hope this session has given you valuable insights and inspiration to continue growing and fighting for green fins in your regions. And if you have any questions or follow up questions, you know where to reach out. So, here's our challenge for you, for those who are watching this recording. How else can we, as a global network, better support each other in achieving financial sustainability for the program? Once again, thank you so much for your time and commitment, and we look forward in continuing this journey with you. And we can't wait to see the impact we will create together. Have a great day, and we will see you in the workshop.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Sam.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thanks
thank
so
you
much,
for the
everyone.
time.
Have a great
Bye.
day, evening, wherever you are. See you next time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Let's go
you.
back to work.
I'm off to bed. See you.
Thank you, everyone. Good night, Dea.
Good night.
See you tomorrow, Dea.
See you tomorrow, Teresa.
Thank you so much, Hani, and for being an hour early.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Have a good rest of the day. Bye.
Bye.